There we go. Now can everyone hear me? Good deal. All right, thank you. So a while back when we started the tour, I mentioned to everybody that we had 88 spots, or we were taking 2 motor coaches. So I'm happy to share with you that we have 86 spots confirmed. So there's only 2 spots left in case you know of anybody that's lingering, or on the fence. You'll want to tell them to grab it soon. And the best part about that is that we're at the lowest tier level when it comes to the pricing. If you recall way back when I had started, I think we had said around 2,900 plus airfare. So now the tour cost is down to 23.71 per person. So that's great. That's the lowest price it goes for as many people as we have. So again, 23.71 is the base land tour price. The airfare, if you recall, I said could be as high as 800. It would not go over that. But we were lucky enough to get it at 375. So you're looking at a total of 27.46 a person for the land tour, which is great. It's a lot lower than what we had originally started. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is this is assuming that we stick with 2 full buses, right? It has to be 80 passengers or more for us to stick with this price. Okay. So again, 27.46 is what we're looking at per person. Now that we have all of this finalized, I will be sending out an invoice within the next couple weeks. You'll all get an individual invoice showing that you've made your $500 deposit, and then with or without the airfare, depending on if you did or not. Or excuse me, with the insurance, not the air. So you either made 500 per person or you paid the additional 289 as well, right? But I will make sure and note that on your land tour invoice. Okay, any questions on that so far? Just on the pricing. Okay. I can't see everybody on my screen, so whoever's on page 2, if you guys have a question, either raise your hand or put it in the chat or unmute yourself and stop me, okay? And we'll ask for questions again at the end in case I missed anything. All right, now the biggest and most important question is the weight limit. Okay, there is an issue when you go to smaller cities or more exotic areas, which the Great Barrier Reef is, they have weight limits. Okay, so when you mark this down, when you fly to New Zealand, all the airlines are going to give you a 50-pound weight limit because you're flying internationally. That's per bag. Okay, that's your big checked-in suitcase that goes under the plane. When we get off of the cruise ship and you have to take your flight up to Cairns, remember for our group, we're going Sydney to Cairns, that weight limit is 44 pounds. Okay, so now your next question is going to be, well, what do we do? We're going to take 50 pounds. You have to pay for the difference. Okay, the airline we're going on, they charge $8 per pound. Okay, so technically, let's say you're traveling with a 50-pound bag, and you have 6 times 8, that's $48 you're going to have to pay if you have a 6-pound difference, right? They allow 44. If your bag is 50 pounds, you have 6 pounds you have to pay for. Okay, did I do that right? 48, yeah. Each way. Okay, so when we fly up to Cairns, you have to pay the difference. When we fly back to Sydney, you have to pay the difference. I know it's a lot, but the good part is, again, we got the airfare for less than half of what we planned. Okay, airfare is only $375. So if you add in an extra $150, let's say round trip, we're still way under what we had anticipated. Okay, so I know a lot of you will continue to ask me that, but just remember when we get to the airport, you're checking all your bags. We take that nice short flight up to Cairns. Everybody will pay individually. They weigh your bag. You hand them your credit card and they will charge you whatever the extra pounds are. Okay, so 44 pounds for your big bag. Your carry-on bag, your small one, they have a weight limit on that. It's 15 pounds. Okay, and again, they will charge you. Now, I've flown all over the world. Only one time did I see one airline check the weight on a carry-on bag, and it wasn't in Australia. So we may luck out and they may not check the weight on our little carry-ons, you know, whether it be a backpack, a little roller bag, duffel bag. Either way, as long as it's a normal carry-on, they may or they may not check the weight on that. Okay, but again, you're allowed up to 15 pounds. Okay, everybody good? Question? Yeah,
Yeah, there's a question in the chat about, so is the limit one check bag and one carry-on?
Yes.
Does a CPAP machine count as your carry-on?
It's going to be in your carry-on bag. So if it's a separate bag, I'm going to have to say yes. I would try to put it in with the rest of your carry-on if it fits.
Most airlines do not charge for your CPAP medical, including a wheelchair. They won't charge you for it.
Right, the wheelchair. Yeah, I know. I'll just make myself a note, and we'll find out specifically with this airline. Interestingly enough, remember the name of our land tour is called Globus. Because they have certain contracts with certain airlines, they won't give me the name of the airline, but I looked it up. So I'm 99% sure the name of the airline we're on is Jetstar. It's kind of like our Southwest. It's just their smaller, more domestic airline that they use in Australia. So it's a very good one. It's just because they have contracts, they can't legally give me the name of it. Once we get there and we have our documents and stuff, we'll know. But again, I looked it up. There's only so many flights per day. So I know it's on Jetstar. So if any of you want to do your homework on Jetstar and go on their website and find out about that information, you're welcome to do that. Okay.
And there's a couple other questions about luggage storage, you know, at the
Okay, I'll get to that in 1 second.
Okay.
Anything other than luggage storage? No. Okay. Everybody's clear on the luggage. You remember with the land tour, when you do a land tour, we're going on a motor coach, they pretty much allow everybody to have one large bag, one carry-on, and a personal item, which is like a purse or a over-the-shoulder bag for the gentleman. You know, they're not expecting you to have 5 pieces of luggage. Other than the luggage storage, hopefully you'll just be taking one big bag with you. Okay. Even though we're not on the motor coach that much, we're technically just being transferred to the airport. When we get into Cairns, we're being transferred to our hotel, and then same thing back to the airport. So if you really want to bring a second bag, you know, I can inquire with them, but try not to. Try to just have your one large check-in, one carry-on, and a personal item. Okay.
And is the cost on the carry-on same $8 overage if they're over 15
As far as I know,
pounds?
yeah. As
Okay.
far as I know, per pound, yeah. Yeah, it's basically they're just doing it for weight on the plane. You know, they use the smaller aircrafts. It's still a jet engine. It's not like a prop or anything like that, but because they're smaller, they can only be allowed so much weight. And it's like all the other airlines, it's a way for them to make more money. Yeah. So, okay, your final payment, again, this will be on your invoice. The absolute latest I can collect it is January 3rd. Okay. This is a whole month and a few days after the cruise. So again, the land tour, January 3rd. Okay. If you are wondering what is the last date you can cancel and get your money back, September 13th. Okay. If you've paid insurance, it is absolutely non-refundable. But if not, if you need to cancel the tour, you can get your deposit back up until September 13th. Okay. If you need to change a name, let's say there's 2 people going and one person has now canceled and they can't go on the land tour. Again, up until final payment. Okay, we can do that. Let me double check the thing. No, I take that back. With the airfare, they prefer September 13th. Otherwise, there may be a major change fee if you have to change a name. So try to know for sure if you're doing this land tour with no changes by September 13th. Okay, if it's after that, I'll have to let you know if there's a fee to change the air. Because basically they already have the air locked in. I've given them I've given them all of your names. So if there's going to be any changes, they want to know by September. Okay. What else? Okay, storage. Be very honest, say I still don't have an exact answer on this. They are going to let me know which storage facility at the airport that they recommend. I think the reviews are getting better. I know about a year ago when we were looking into this, it was a little sketchy, but if you're going to need to store something, it looks like the places are getting a little more secure and a little better. So again, I will keep you updated on that, on where you can drop it off. I'll make sure it's in the same terminal that you guys are being dropped off to. Don't forget, if you haven't got a recent cruise invoice, I will be sending you one with your land tour, and you want to double check, which I will too, that your transfers are not included because you don't need them from the cruise line. Okay, this land tour is going to pick you up at the cruise port and they're going to take you to the airport. That way they take you right to Jetstar's terminal. Okay, so we do not need the transfer from the cruise line. Okay. In regards to the transfer on the way home, March 19th is when the tour finishes and everybody will book their flight that day to go home, unless you're extending on somewhere else. The transfer will be early in the morning. I do not know the exact time yet. As I continue to get everybody's flight schedule, I will be turning it into the land tour company, and they're going to determine what's the best time to drop everybody off. It may or may not work out great with your flight. Most people's flights on the 19th are anywhere from 10 a.m. to noon. If that's the case, more than likely, we will take everybody back to the airport around 8 a.m. You generally have to be at the airlines. They request 3 hours prior when it's an international flight. If it's, in my opinion, between 2.5 and 3, if it's within your time frame, then it would still be okay for you to take the transfer. If you happen to have a later flight or an evening flight, you will have to get your own transportation back to the airport. Okay. Everybody good with that? Okay. The other question that has come about is in regards to extra tours. For instance, when we have our free day in Sydney, a lot of you have asked about booking something that day. Globus Tours does not even have their schedule out yet on pricing and the day tours. So my suggestion is, if you really want to book something, don't worry about booking it through me or through Globus. Or excuse me, not necessarily through me, through Globus. Okay. If you want some suggestions on what to do in Sydney, and if you want to book it in advance, I can help you with that. It does not have to be booked through Globus. When we have our tour guide there, when you meet up with her on the 13th, you can surely say, hey, I don't have any plans in Sydney on the very last day. What can you suggest? That'll be fine. By then, yes, sure, she can definitely help you and see what they can book for you. But I have a lot of people, for instance, that want to climb the Sydney Bridge. If you want to do that, and if you want to secure an exact date and time, I suggest we book it now and don't wait.
Because I'm sure some
Okay.
of those will sell out their time slots, because I know we had that in New York with a lot of the tours in New York.
Right. Yeah, so it's not honestly going to be any difference in price or difference in the tour. They're just there for convenience. If you don't make any plans prior, you can surely ask them, what can we do? But if you want to look into that now, I would do that now and secure something for that day. A lot of people have asked about seeing an opera at the Sydney Opera House. Like my picture? Um, you can again do that, go online and book whatever it is you want. Do that in advance, because if you wait too long for that, that will for sure be sold out. Okay. I think that is about it, other than any questions. I basically wanted to go over the flight information. I can give you the flight times too, if anybody wants to write that down. On the 13th of March, we're going to be flying out of Sydney at 11:30 a.m. and we will arrive in Cairns at 1:30 p.m. And then on the 16th of March, when we come back to Sydney for 3 nights, it's a very early flight, 6:40 a.m. And you get into Sydney at 10:40 a.m. They did that because you have a full day planned in Sydney that day. So it was important that we got the first flight out. Okay, again, 11:30, you arrive 1:30 into Cairns. Return is 6:40. You're back at 10:40 in Sydney. Looking at another note, you can still add on the insurance, which I will be asking all of you before September. So if you haven't done that yet, and if you want to add on the 289 insurance for the land tour, I will be going over that with you by September. Okay.
What's the
All right.
date? What's the date we return again to Sydney?
March 16th.
Thank you.
So it's 3 nights in Cairns, 13, 14, 15th. And then we fly back Sydney, 16th, 17th, 18th, and you go home on the 19th. Okay. I think that's all of my notes. What other questions did we have?
So it sounds like pick up when we leave the cruise, get picked up, we're gonna go to the airport. At that point, we'll figure out the whole luggage drop off, how that works. So we'll get that
Yes.
sorted out. Because yeah,
And I will make sure that the Globus picks you guys up early enough that you have more than enough time at the airport. 11, that's a domestic flight, so they technically only want you there by 9:30. I'll probably have them pick you up at the port between 8 and 8:30, which you usually get off the cruise ship very early anyway. So that'll just give you even more time at the airport, the extra hour to go handle that check-in process if you need to.
right.
What else? Was there anything else in the chat I missed?
No, I think we got everything that.
What is
Oh,
the policy on liquids?
Heathrow.
I know when we came back through Heathrow Airport, they were really, really strict about everything. And we had it all done fine in the US, and then they made us like basically throw everything away when we were coming back home.
In other words, you had a quart-sized bag.
Yes,
your
and they wouldn't
small
let us use
liquids?
that. We had to use their bag. And if it didn't fit in their bag,
And you had them all in 3-ounce bottles or less?
yes,
And that was coming home from where? London?
yes.
I have not heard of that, honestly. I even had people go there recently, to Australia, and I didn't hear anything about that. I'll make a note and check to see if there's any specific rules.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was a friggin' nightmare.
Who said that?
Mary.
Very Mary.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's funny. I just went through London myself last year and I had some issues when I arrived. I was just changing planes and you're right. They were concerned about my liquid, where in the US they were not. And I even had a
Yes.
small bottle, but I had to pull it out and show it to them, but they didn't take it from me. But interesting.
There's a couple
Yeah,
things in the
every
chat.
country definitely has their own rules when it comes to stuff like that. And sometimes, honestly, you guys, it's just the agent you get. You know, it's just like going up to a gate agent for the airline ticketing. Some are nice, some are evil. You know, when you go through TSA, you got some that let you slide on stuff and some that don't. So you're better off trying to follow the rules the best you can and then hope for the best. What was that,
There's a
David?
question about what's the hotel in Sydney and what is our free day in Sydney?
The free day is the very last day. I'd have to go back. I believe the hotel is supposed to be the Swiss hotel. Yeah. Once in a blue moon, they got to use a different one, but as of right now, that's where we're scheduled. It's a nice 4.5 star property, Swiss SWIS Swiss hotel. Yeah.
3 days the last day. Okay. Anything else? Anybody
Any other
else?
Looking through our free day in Sydney. Yeah, it's the very last day. Carry on. Yep, $8 per pound. If you didn't make note of that, $8 per pound. I will again make note of that on your invoice. Okay, just so you're kind of reminded of everything. Oh, can we store some luggage at the hotel to reduce the weight? I actually did. Okay, so originally they had told us they would charge an actual hotel room night per night just to put all of our luggage in one room. Because we said, oh, well, maybe we could just take it all over to the hotel and they'll hold it for a couple days. Well, because it's kind of busy time of the year, they won't do that. And they said, we'll give you a hotel room, but they wanted to charge full price. And I said, I'm not doing that. So I did inquire though, if they would give us any type of discount or what, in case we absolutely had so many people with extra luggage that it was going to be an issue. So still kind of waiting on that to see, you know, if they're going to budge on that at all. But what I would probably prefer is as it gets a little closer, maybe by September, let me know, you know, if you're one that travels with 2 or 3 pieces of luggage and you're going to need storage, just give me a heads up. You know, that way I can kind of gauge it and say, hey, we're going to have only 10 extra pieces, or we're going to have 50 people with an extra piece. You know, it's, I don't know, it might be easier to kind of know ahead of time so we can figure it out for everybody. It is going to be warm that time of year, so you really won't need a whole lot of heavy clothes. So hopefully everybody can get away with their one large piece.
I have a question for you. In regards to the excursion to the Great Barrier Reef, it says, like, if you go snorkeling, do they provide snorkels and masks, or we have to bring that?
No, they provide it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they provide it on the boat. Yeah. It's part of the tour that day, the day tour. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Anything
In
else?
terms of other stuff, and I'll be sending this out as well, is I've had several people ask, should I bring square dance attire? Absolutely not. So you don't need to, you're on vacation, come to be on vacation. So you know, there with the way the luggage is, there's no room for slips. There's no, you know, so I would just say, just come casual. So that just saves you a little bit extra space too.
I have a question for David. This is Randy.
Yep.
Badges. I guess you're going to send out new badges now, even if we had the old badges
No,
from New York.
I'm going to send you guys swingers for your old badges.
Okay. I think I found mine. I think Sue is in Arizona. You don't think so?
No.
We might have to get a new one for Sue then.
All right, just let me know.
Okay, I
We'll
will.
take care of you.
And then the second thing is, David, we kind of followed you around in New York. So would you put out your itinerary if you guys are going to do anything in Sydney? And so we can just follow you guys around?
Yeah, if I figure anything out, I will send that out to the group. I know right now in Auckland and or in Sydney, I think we've got the whatever the tour is, and we really haven't planned anything beyond that. I think it'll probably be a little bit of downtime as well. So, but yeah, if we do,
Yeah, remember, it's just the last day.
Yeah.
You will have done a basic city tour everywhere. You've seen the beach, you'll see the Opera House. You will have done a dinner cruise. You will have gone to the Blue Mountains. So it's
Oh.
kind of just that extra day if you want to explore the city, if you want to climb the bridge, if you want to go to a winery. There's other things to do in the city, but at least you have that last day, to do
Okay,
what you.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Lindy, I had a question about the pre-cruise. We're going to be there 3 days early. Would you be
Yes.
able to give us suggestions of where things to see in Auckland?
Yeah, just email me and I'll send you the link of all the excursions and day tours that are available.
Great.
The link I send you, it's great because you can book anything you want right from the link and it'll
Okay,
come
great.
back to me. That way I can follow and see what you've booked.
Okay. And should we allow 1 full day for recovery from flight getting there?
Well, I mean, I can recommend to everybody right when you get there, you're all gonna arrive, let's say before noon. You got to stay awake that day. You just really have to force yourself to stay awake. That way you can sleep and get on a normal schedule by nighttime. It's difficult sometimes, or maybe take a little nap, but set a timer. But it just depends how many nights you're getting there prior, as to how many days you want to save for just recovery. I'd say the majority of the group's doing 2 nights. There's a lot of them doing 3 nights. So your first day is going to be the toughest, but the next day, if you have a full day, I'd say go tour. If you're doing a 3-night stay, then go tour the second and third day.
That's what I
Or at
want
least
to
a
do.
half day by the third because you have the square dance that night. So you should still be able to do a half day tour, whether it be a city tour or if you want to go out sailing. I remember I went on a big sailboat there and they let you, do the sail there. It's very famous. I don't know what else off the top of my head. I think some people are doing like a Maori excursion to go see the Maori people. There's quite a bit. So just email me, please. I will, because I
Okay.
won't remember. And just say, hey, send me the links for New Zealand. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And David, I had a question about those badges. We haven't received one. I couldn't remember. Are you going to be bringing them on the trip or are we supposed to get them in the mail?
They'll come in the mail, and depending on what order it came in, the badge guy he's a little bit slow because he also does all the badges for Disney, and so my little badge order gets trumped every time he gets a Disney order. I guess they pay more than I do, but that's yeah. So yeah, so I'll send out stuff. So if you haven't had them, just let me know if you don't have them, and I can let you know what order they're in. But yeah, they'll be delivered. We're having them delivered to most everybody.
I'm gonna remind everybody of this too, even the cruise people. But is there anybody that hasn't booked their airfare yet? Good. Okay, good. If you haven't, you really need to. I think there's only a few. I keep going through the list. I think there's only a few that if you haven't, I highly suggest you do that sooner than later.
I'll email him on that.
If you need my help, just email me and I'm happy to help any way I can. Anything else?
I'm muted now so you can talk.
Yeah, something, Randy?
Oh, I thought I was muted.
Just order me a
Yeah,
badge.
Sue's convinced she's lost her badge, so you better order her a badge and send me a dangle.
And David, where do they come to, Reno, or would they come to Arizona?
Why don't
We're
you
in
email me
Arizona.
separately and we'll make sure we send it to the best place that works for you guys.
Okay, I will do that.
Cool.
Okay, guys. I was about right. I said 30 minutes and we're at that mark. So if you can think of any other questions, feel free to email me or David and I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, it's getting close. What are we 6 months away now? About hopefully
Yeah, it's just about that.
something like that, huh?
It is
Yep,
coming at us quick.
time's going fast. Any other questions about the cruise? Again, feel free to email me. Maybe we'll do another Zoom in another month or two as it gets a little closer. Just again, kind of reminding you of everything or following up with questions that we get. I like to do that. That way it's easier sometimes when you see somebody face to face, it sticks in a little better.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, you guys all have a great night. Thank you, David.
You betcha.
And,
Thank you guys so much. Looking forward to it.
Okay, we'll talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.